Welcome to the New Warehouse Podcast, the podcast for those that are curious about what's possible inside their four walls. Before we get into this episode, let's hear a word from our sponsors that make this all possible. If you want visibility from the boardroom to the warehouse floor, then you need IFS Softion's WMS powered by Industrial AI. IFS Softion's WMS combines deep industry expertise, robotics orchestration, and proven warehouse execution in a single seamless platform. With more than 2 decades of experience and a 100% deployment success rate, IFS Softion helps you optimize fulfillment operations and solve your complex warehouse challenges. Learn more at www.softion.com. That's www.softion.com. It's Modex season, and as the industry prepares to descend upon Atlanta, marketing is top of mind for many supply chain leaders. Is your company's marketing and PR connecting with decision makers to drive business? If you need marketing project support, Master Plan Communications is a great resource to help you make it happen. For 15 years, Master Plan Communications marketing and PR have been building awareness and creating demand for material handling companies. MPC offers strategic marketing and PR planning, media relations, video productions, photography, websites, digital marketing, social media, and more. Connect with MPC at masterplancommunications.com and on LinkedIn. Thank you to our sponsors, and now let's get to the podcast.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hey, it's Kevin with the New Warehouse Podcast, bringing you a new episode today. On today's episode, we are going to talk about forklifts, and we're going to talk about forklifts with Big Joe, friends of the show, and I'm going to be joined by Big Joe's CMO, a lot of rhyming going on there, Martin Boyd, and he's going to be joining us to talk to us a little bit about the electrification of your fleet. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that means, some of the options that are in the market, and also how to leverage data to be able to make the right decision on when to switch, how to switch, and what's the right approach to doing that. And we're also going to talk a little bit about 75 years they've been in business. It's their 75th anniversary this year, so congratulations to them. And Marty, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good. I'm doing great, Kevin. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's great to get you back on the show here. Always appreciate talking to you, fellow New Jerseyan. We like to reminisce about that sometimes and connect on that. So happy to get you on here and happy to talk about the electrification of fleets and bring some more knowledge to that as well, because there's been a lot of stuff going on in the market. So looking forward to diving into that with you today. So let's kick it off here for people that are not familiar with Big Joe. Tell us a little bit about Big Joe and what it is you're all about.
So for everybody that doesn't know Big Joe, we're in the material handling space. We manufacture forklifts. As you mentioned, Kevin, this is our 2026 is our 75th year anniversary for Big Joe. We're a company that started in Wisconsin back in 1951. Many of those 75 years have really been focused on the warehouse side of the business. So traditionally, we're known as a company that manufactures really good, high quality pallet trucks, walkie stackers. We do have a very well-known product called the Joey line, which is a good replacement for the moving ladders that you see in a lot of the Home Depots and Lowe's of the world. So primarily a warehouse type of equipment manufacturer, but the last couple of years we've been really kind of expanding our horizons, kind of looking at the next 75 years and where the market is going and what our appetite is in the market. And we're really getting into electrification of the market, allowing customers and operations to move from internal combustion, sit down type counterbalance product over to electric product operated by lithium ion batteries. So we're again a well-known warehouse company, but we're kind of raising eyebrows in the marketplace, getting into the class one sit down counterbalance business. And that's really our focal point right now is to be the leaders in electrification and really empowering customers to finally make that leap from internal combustion to electric.
Yeah, and congratulations, definitely on 75 years. I know you haven't been there for 75 years, right? But definitely, congratulations to Big Joe on that. If I remember my forklift history correctly, I think the origins of Big Joe originated because they were looking for something to move safes, right? I think, and from cash deposits and things like that.
I think it might have been safes. All I know that it was moving very, very heavy product, and they were reliant on a gentleman by the name of Joe who had much bigger arms than me. And finally, they had a need to replace Joe and put him on some more value-added tasks. And they figured, with this product that we had developed, that what better name to name the company than the guy that was moving the heavy equipment and allowing our equipment to do that in his place.
Yeah, absolutely. So very interesting there, and obviously a long way in the industry from a guy with big arms moving heavy stuff to now where we are in terms of what are the options in the market. And as you said, a big focus now on the electrification, and especially regarding the lithium products as well. I've used some of those myself personally from Big Joe. Very much enjoyed the experience. So tell us a little bit about kind of that focus on the electrification of forklifts and what are really the options on the market for people that maybe are not familiar with the different types of power that you can look at.
The best place to start is to step back and look at the market overall, and everybody has been saying the markets have been electrifying for years. I mean, ever since I was a newcomer in the industry, everybody's been talking about the electrification of the market. A lot of that is inclusive of all 5 classes of lift trucks, which includes the warehouse equipment. And a lot of what's been driving that electrification is really because of the expansion of the warehouse space. So, just the higher percentage of warehouse products like the class 3 walkies and walkie stackers, and then especially into the narrow aisle space where you're looking at pantograph reach trucks and order selectors. But if you strip out the warehouse products and strictly look at the class 1 sit down counterbalance lineup, which is electric, and compare that to the class 4 and class 5, which are your internal combustion type sit down counterbalance products, the market really hasn't changed much over the last 40, 45 years. It's been very, very heavily electric. And a lot of what's been holding back customers and operations from going from IC to electric has really been the pains associated with adopting lead acid battery. And in the last 10 to 15 years, there's been a huge momentum in the area of lithium. The cost of lithium has come down to a price point where it actually makes sense to replace, say, lead acid batteries with lithium. But it's also allowed the operations that have been using internal combustions to completely leapfrog over the older technology of lead acid batteries and go right into a lithium-based technology. And it allows those IC customers to avoid all the pitfalls and all the pains associated with lead acid and go to a proven solution that allows very low maintenance. You don't have to exchange batteries. It's a very energy dense type of technology. You don't have to water the batteries, and it really just makes for a seamless transition from IC to electric. And that's only within the last 10 years. So the technology has really reached a point where the moving from IC to electric makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And when we talk about electric, I guess specifically in the Big Joe context, right? As you're focused on lithium in particular, right?
Our organization has been focused on lithium. Really, all of our products are lithium. We don't manufacture any propane or any diesel
Hmm.
equipment. We're focused strictly on electrics, and our sit down counterbalance line is strictly lithium based.
Hmm.
So with that architecture being lithium, we are heavily focused on how do we help the market, how do we help those operations move from IC to electric, utilizing our solution, which is an integrated lithium type of product that's integrated directly into a chassis configuration that is very seamless for the operator. Many times today, you'll see a lot of operations that are moving from IC to electric,
Hmm.
and they're utilizing a what we call a class one sit down counterbalance platform, which was originally designed around a very big, boxy lead acid battery.
Yeah.
And right now, there's about 20 lithium ion battery. Last count I've had is about 20 lithium ion battery companies where their sole focus is to replace a lead acid battery and have a slide in replacement with a lithium. That's good because it helps the technology evolve,
Hmm.
with these 20 battery companies out there all competing for the same space. But where we differentiate ourselves is our lithium solution is integrated into the product directly. It is a one battery per truck solution. So having the ability to integrate it directly into the chassis of the truck allows us to create a form factor where the operator feels like he's sitting on an IC product where it's very comfortable. And I'm not sitting on a box on wheels like a traditional
Yeah.
class one type of truck. And again, our batteries are integrated right into it, and it really allows the operation and the operators to really feel like they're going from one product IC to an electric product without sacrificing any of the ergonomics that you would traditionally have to sacrifice in going to a class one product that has a slide-in, say, lithium battery or lead acid battery.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely, and I imagine that allows for better design overall too, as well as you kind of touched on there in the actual forklift or whatever the vehicle is in the application there. So you're gone kind of all in on lithium, right? And you've mentioned a couple times that the goal is to transition people out of IC, right? So tell us a little bit about why would people want to make that transition? What are some of the downsides of IC that you see, and what are the benefits of the lithium, and why would you even make the switch in the first place or want to make that switch?
Yeah, there's a number of drivers that we see in the marketplace today. One is you have the green movement, which has been going on for, I'd say, 15, 20 years,
Sure.
where you have a lot of companies, and you just read their annual reports and their mission statements and their vision statements, where they want to be more friendly to the environment. That green thinking, where we want to get away from fossil fuel type products and move to something that's more sustainable. So that's the one driver where internal combustion users and companies that have internal combustion fleets of lift trucks see that as an opportunity to move over to an electric platform that allows them to reinforce their sustainability goals. The other area, which is I think more prevalent in the marketplace today, is the fact that running an internal combustion fleet of lift trucks, it's very burdensome on your bottom end.
Mhm.
It's a very cost intensive type of product because you're dealing with significant maintenance costs in keeping an internal combustion engine product maintained. And of course, the volatility, especially today, you can imagine the volatility in fossil fuel oil prices has really
Sure.
has
Yeah.
really created a discussion in the marketplace about how do we get to a platform where we can run electric products, not sacrifice any productivity in our environment, and we can reap the benefits of the cost of maintenance savings and fuel savings by moving to an electric platform. So that would say that is probably, especially right now within the last, say, month or so, is
Yeah.
really front and center. Is how do we avoid the volatility of the oil prices that we're experiencing today, and who knows where it's going to go tomorrow.
Mhm.
But that is really the driver behind the IC to E movement right now is really cost. How do I save on fuel?
Mhm.
How do I save on maintenance? And then lastly, how do I create or how do I go to a platform that is not going to be disruptive to my operator that's driving the forklifts? That's where integrated lithium is absolutely essential.
Mm.
And how do I make sure that I go to a platform on the electric side that doesn't reduce my performance, it doesn't reduce my productivity, it doesn't reduce my efficiency? And I say it's kind of the perfect storm, technology with lithium and the ability to integrate, like we're doing here at Big Joe, to integrate lithium batteries into the products, which we've been doing for approximately a decade, is really creating the ideal environment where the opportunity to move from IC to E is perfect. A lot of the challenges we see is just awareness. There's many operations, like many of these 3PLs, simply aren't aware that it is possible to move from IC to E. And it's not like it was, say, 10, 15 years ago, where you would see, an eroding of your productivity by going electric. And you would see, even though the cost of maintenance of an electric is significantly less than that of an IC product, the adding on of pains of dealing with, say, lead acid of yesterday it just made it too burdensome to make that switch.
Yeah, very interesting there. And I'm curious too about the because I think it was ProMat last year. You all had a forklift in a box filled with smoke, right? So tell us a little bit about that too, on kind of the well-being side in the facility.
So yeah, that's, we call it the smoke box. That was kind of a last minute crazy idea to number one, catch the attention of the attendees to ProMat to stop, to look, kind of look inside the box, the glass, and see that it's an older internal combustion cushion style, which was designed for use indoors of, propane powered unit. And it was pretty beaten up, but it's okay. We wanted it beaten up. We didn't want it to look brand new.
Sure.
I think it was like a 1973 type product that I ended up finding on Craigslist, by the way. That's a true story.
Oh, interesting.
But
Okay,
we
I didn't
really,
know that.
but we really wanted to do two things. One is we wanted to obviously capture the attention of the passerby to see this box and look inside it. But we also want them to step back, and we had a caption at the top of the box, and it said, "Are you stuck in the past?" And to really kind of hammer in the idea that, hey, I'm still using class 4 internal combustion propane trucks indoors. And as soon as they get into our booth, we want them to see the wide variety of class 1 sit-down counterbalance trucks that are running on lead acid. And to the casual observer walking by, if we didn't have the smoke box, they may just look at our trucks and just see, oh, there's another manufacturer there that's got internal combustion sit-down counterbalance product. But what we're trying to highlight is take another look, because as you notice, there's no exhaust pipe sticking up for diesel. There is no propane tanks on the back of these trucks. That these are 100% electric trucks powered by our lithium batteries. So, Big Joe, we manufacture, we design, manufacture, test, and support our own lithium batteries, which is again a differentiator in the market for us.
Yeah, absolutely, and very clever to do that there. I think that was enjoyable for sure. So obviously, a lot of great benefits, as you listed, for making the switch to lithium and electrifying the fleet there. But I mean, is there a way that electrifying your fleet could go wrong? Like what is keeping people from doing that, and what is potentially deterring operators from making that switch?
Yeah, I would say the biggest challenges today that I see in operations that are investigating, now that they know that this lithium power exists, everybody's talking lithium. One of the biggest challenges isn't really the technology. I mean, like I said, there's 20 lithium battery companies that are out there all fighting for the space to get companies to move from two trends: one, lead acid to electric using lithium, their lithium product, and then secondly, the IC to E, using an integrated or a lithium type product as well. Really, the problem isn't the technology. I mean, all these battery companies, they're doing well, and we as a company, Big Joe, are also doing well on the lithium space. The challenge really is on the distribution channel side. So when I say distribution channel, I'm talking about regardless of what color lift truck you sell,
Yeah.
it's the mentality of the salesperson who's been, in many cases, stuck in the
Interesting.
past of selling internal combustion product, which we call it a very transactional mentality,
Mm.
which is nothing wrong with. I mean, I go to a customer who's been riding propane trucks for years, and now the customer wants to move electric. Well, if I'm geared more towards selling a propane truck, and all I need to do is take the options. It's a 5,000 pound lift. It's got 3-stage mass. It's got a side shifter. It's got a backup alarm. It's very, very easy and straightforward for me to take another order from that customer, place the order in the factory. The internal combustion product comes in, I hand the keys off, and I walk away, and the customer's happy. Moving to electric is a completely different discussion. Now we're talking about I have to go in as the dealer salesperson that has to understand all the different aspects of moving from IC to electric. Now I have to look at what does your grid look like? Do you have enough power in your facility to power the chargers that would charge up a fleet of electric lift trucks? So that's number one. Number two, I need to go through the process of doing a power study to understand, well, what size lithium battery do I need for this operation? Do I need a very big lithium battery? Can I get away with a small lithium battery? Then you talk about the charger. What kind of charger do I need? Do I need a very high power charger that fills up these lithium batteries very fast, or can I get away with something smaller? So it's always this trade-off of, well, how much do you want to spend and how much do you need to spend? So there's a lot of aspects to going electric, which creates more opportunities for error on the salesperson side of things. And in many cases, what I've seen is the salespeople who are very traditionally focused on selling IC product, they have tended to lean on the battery suppliers to give them what they need. Oh, I understand the operation. I can hook you up with a lead acid or a lithium solution that will fit this operation. The term battery anxiety, which is very, very much alive in the automotive world, being afraid to run out of charge and you're 30 miles from
Yeah,
home,
sure.
is also has some parallels within the industrial space as well. So there's always this fear that the forklift is going to run out of juice, it's going to run out of power, and then what do you do at that point? And many of the mistakes that are happening there is, well, when I do a demo with a customer who is traditionally a propane user, I am going to put the biggest lithium battery in there, and I'm going to put the biggest, the most powerful charger in his operation. That way, I'm covering all my bases to make sure that this experience that the operation has is a good one. Unfortunately, when you oversize the battery and you oversize the charger, you pay a lot of money. So you go through an instance where the end user customer who's interested in going ICDE is going through a state of sticker shock.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way I have the capital expense to replace my fleet of lift trucks with all these big batteries and big chargers. So that's probably the biggest pitfall that I've seen, is the sticker shock that the end user sees in going electric, and then just say, you know what, it's just easier for me to stay with propane. When in many cases, I'd say most cases, if you have the right tools, and these tools are data-based tools, you can use data to dial in a solution that doesn't require a massively large lithium battery and doesn't require a large charger to empower the customer, to enable the customer to go from IC to E. And that's where we see, and that's where we at Big Joe are really stepping in and coming out with tools to help that transactional mindset of the salesperson in the internal combustion world, make it easier for them to have the tools ready to convince the customer that, number one, moving from IC to E is possible. And then secondly, you don't have to open up your wallet and spend your entire budget to do it. So that's probably the biggest area that we see as far as opportunities.
Yeah, interesting. And I mean, it sounds like, it sounds like education really is kind of like the gap
It
a
is.
little bit, right? And kind of that understanding. And I think it's a really interesting point that you said. It's very similar to like that battery anxiety around electric cars. It's like, okay, well, is my 300-mile range okay? Like, am I okay there? Or am I going to get stuck on the side of the road or something like that? Very, very similar. So when you think about that, and you mentioned, it's important to get the accurate data, right? So that you don't end up oversizing and then having that sticker shock. Talk to us, like, I mean, let's do some of that education right now, right? Like, I mean, talk to us a little bit about like, what are those data points that they should be looking at, and how do they ultimately, get to the decision or work with their salesperson, their dealer, like, to get to that right decision on what is the right size battery for me, and how much power do I actually need in reality, instead of just being like overly cautious and then, spending too much money or getting scared away by the price.
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah. The number one, awareness and education, awareness that technology does exist that
Mm-hmm.
will empower customers to go from IC to E. And then, like you said, it's really education. That is the hurdle that we are really leading in the market with, is educating the salesperson that the tools do exist and we can work alongside you to use those tools. It's almost like teaching how to fish. Like we can do it
Sure.
ourselves here at Big Joe, but with the number of opportunities in the market and the number of instances where customers want to go from IC to E, it's massive.
Mm.
So we're right in the midstream of educating our dealer partners to we're teaching them how to fish in many respects, and
Sure.
teaching them how to use these tools. So a perfect example is you have a heavy internal combustion user, and it's funny when you speak to any internal combustion user, they all think that their operation is the absolute hardest. There's no other place, no
Mm-hmm.
other operation is hard on equipment as my internal combustion products,
Sure.
and they come in with this skeptical mind that you as the entity like Big Joe coming in with an electric product, that we're going to fail. I love that. I love bringing a lithium-based product into an operation, and we just tell them, like, listen, keep an open mind.
Mm-hmm.
Let us put our forklift into your operation, and we will use data to show you that it's possible. Many cases, the customers are very resistant initially because they're like, listen, I do not want to work with my electrician to drop power to power a three-phase 480 charger that's going to fast charge these batteries. My operation is IC,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to figure out a way to do your demo and do your power study. And we're like, fine, that's okay. If even if you're a three-shift operation, I will bring my integrated Big Joe lithium-based truck into your operation. We have standard on our trucks an onboard charger. It comes standard on all of our
Yeah.
sit-down
I'd say
counterbalance equipment.
that's my absolute favorite feeture that you guys have. I gotta say, I love
Mine
it.
too.
Yeah.
It honestly is amazing. It's an enabling tool. I mean, it's a tool that has practical usage, but it's
Mm-hmm.
also a very important step in the demo process, because again, you're entering
Yeah.
into customers that use propane or they use diesel. And for us to go in there and say, listen, I know you're a three-shift operation. All I want to do is collect data. And I don't need your three shifts.
Yeah.
I want you to put my truck into your hardest of your three shifts, get your operator that is the most intense user,
Mm.
and we can use a 110 or a 120 volt outlet, like a wall outlet. It's gonna slow charge the unit, but if you can keep that unit idle overnight and then give it to that operator for that one shift, that's what I'm looking for. If we need to, we can also go to a 240 outlet as well, 240 volt. So that means it's a little bit twice as fast as a 110.
Sure.
But typically, a 110, a 120 will be able to charge the unit overnight. And then you go in there and then you do the demo and you charge overnight. And 1 week, 2 week really is all we need, as long as we know that that truck is in the operation. What we'll do is we'll pull the data from the truck, and in many cases, what we'll do is it's not just pulling the data after the demo is over. We're monitoring the data in real time over what we call Big Joe Pulse. This is our telemetry system that allows us to collect the data remotely. And so I hear from my computer here in Portland, Oregon, if the demo is all the way out, say in your area, say in Princeton, New Jersey,
Sure.
I can see exactly what they're doing. And many times the operator, let's call him Big Joe, the operator on the truck is driving and he's doing what he's supposed to do. And many times when we go back and we have our local rep come back to the site, we see that the Big Joe is parked. And we're like, well, what happened? And they're like, well, the first thing they say is the truck didn't last through the shift. It ran out of juice. And now we just parked it on the side and we went back to our propane trucks. So this is where the data is golden. And this is what I love to do. We show them the data to say, well, you went through your entire shift. I see exactly where you were working. I can see where the truck was sitting, and I can look exactly between this hour and this hour and this time period and this time period. There were periods of time where you could have put that truck on the charger. And we will sit there and use that data and we will model it to show them that had your operator in that second shift, if he put it on the charger during these periods of time that we're getting from the data through Big Joe Pulse, you could see that this truck would have easily lasted through that entire shift without running out of juice. So that's where the operator training comes in, because it's not just I run the truck out of propane and I replace the tank and I'm back up and running.
Yeah.
Lithium, we try to teach the operators that every time you get off the truck, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, put the truck on charge. Lithium loves to be charged. It loves to be charged fast. It loves to be charged often. It's more of a practice. So with that, we usually correct during the demo. So the second day, the third day, the fourth day, the operator gets a hang of, okay, this is a battery truck. I charge it as often as I can. Then we can use the data at the end of the demo and to show the customer, here's what you used. We know you said your operation is the hardest, operation ever, but look at all these areas of idle time. And these are all the areas that you can use as a 3-shift operation to plug the truck into a charger. And so we can use that data and then we can correlate the data into actual fuel savings. So typically what we've seen is you're utilizing not utilizing, but the cost associated with fueling propane versus the cost associated with charging in an operation. You're looking at probably a 90% reduction in fuel savings in going from propane to electric. All depends on the operation, but on average, that's what we're seeing, about a 90% reduction in fuel. So that is something that raises the eyebrows of the customer, because they never really tracked how much fuel they were spending or how much money they were spending on propane.
Sure. Yeah.
The second area is the cost of maintenance, and that also varies heavily per operation. But you're, by rule of thumb, you're traditionally looking at anywhere between a 40 and 60% reduction in maintenance when you go from internal combustion to electric type products. So you add that fuel savings on top of the maintenance savings, and now you're talking real numbers. And now the discussion with the operations manager that basically said that this is never going to work. Now we've piqued his interest, because now we've not only provided a solution that gives his operator an experience like I'm sitting on a propane truck, but it's not. It's an electric truck, and I have a truck that is as productive. And you get all that through the demo process and the feedback from the operator, but behind the scenes is really driving the value of the product in terms of cost savings. When you go away from propane and go to electric, the fuel savings plus the cost of maintenance savings, and now you've got a real discussion with the customer. And I would say 9 times out of 10, when we have that experience with an operation, they want to talk further about, okay, how do we do this across my entire fleet of internal combustion lift trucks?
Yeah. Great points there. And I think, love the assessment and the ability to do that demo, right? As I mentioned, that integrated charger, I think, is like such a great feature, like to be able to just plug it into a regular outlet, essentially, like, is what that means, right? That you could just plug it into, if you had one in your garage, you could just plug it into your house outlet to charge it, essentially.
Yeah. I just wanted to add on to that because
Yeah.
again, I could probably talk hours about, all the things we can do with that onboard charger.
Sure.
We found some of our operations where they felt they needed to have a three-phase
Mm,
480, fast charger installed in all these different locations. And what we found in some cases is that after we do the demo with a 120-volt outlet, and if they are, especially if it's a single shift operation, and if they're
yeah.
if their dealer salesperson is saying, oh, we need to install, these really, heavy duty three-phase chargers, and that's going to be $7,000 a piece, and just heavy money you're talking about
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Sometimes with the demo, we realize just by looking at the data, it's like, listen, if you continue this process of just putting the truck on a 120 or a 240 overnight, we can save you thousands and thousands of dollars because you
Mm,
don't need a heavy duty industrial three-phase charger. So we've had a handful of experiences where customers feel that they need to go through all this expense of bringing their electrician in and dropping power, and in reality, after you go through it, they really don't.
mm,
And then secondly, from the demo, we can really dial in, what size battery do you really need? Do you need the biggest battery, or can you get away with a small battery and a more powerful charger to fill that battery up very quickly? So we can do different things with the data
mhm.
and really model it different ways, bigger battery, smaller battery, more powerful charger, less powerful charger, and really dial into the operation. And it's a credibility builder with the not only the dealer that we're working with, but also the end user, to really show them that we are trying to dial them into a solution that will allow them to go electric without breaking the bank. And that's
Mm.
and that's what we're really looking for, is what is the ideal solution. We're not out to sell them big batteries and heavy duty chargers. We want to dial them in with the right solution that will maximize their return on investment, because it is an investment.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, and I think
Yeah.
that's the right way to go, and I love to hear that because that's exactly what I was thinking. Is like, okay, like I'm thinking of my, friends that have like a smaller 3PL. They run one shift operation, and they have IC, but the switch to electric, like, that's probably in their head is like, okay, well, now I got to drop all this additional power. I got to do a charger. But like you said, I mean, most of the time you're running one shift. If you plug that into a 120 overnight, like you're probably good for the day. Right. So, and doing some of that opportunity charging that you talked about earlier as well. So now let's talk a little bit about, because obviously, there's operations out there. They got, tons of vehicles, right? Tons of pieces of equipment, 20, 30, 40, 50 pieces of equipment. And if they're utilizing IC and then they're going to try and make this switch, right? I mean, that's a big shift to go through, and an expensive one as well. So how do you approach that, or how do you advise these companies that have larger fleets to, how can they do like a staggered kind of phase in, or what is the recommendation there? Because if you're looking at replacing 30 different vehicles, that's a pretty big bill, right? Up
Yeah.
front to take care of. So how do you advise them to kind of approach that and make this switch maybe gradually or phased, or what is the recommendation there?
That's exactly right. I
Mm,
mean, we have plenty of large fleet customers that we're working with right now that are looking to go electric, and many of them already have made the commitment to move to, say, Big Joe integrated lithium. Some are right now in the demo stages, and these are large fleet users with
mhm.
20, 30, 40, 50 plus units that are
Sure.
running on IC, and they've been running IC forever. So, infrastructure obviously is a challenge for many of those, because many of those are, three shift operations where they commonly do need to drop in some power, like a three-phase 480 type
Mhm.
charger. And what you traditionally see is they do a phase-in approach. So, they have
Okay.
budgets, they have capital budgets that they can spend, and obviously they're not going to spend it all at once, and they don't need to spend it all at once. I mean, if
Mhm.
they have an operation within the facility that they can move to electric, we will work with them on identifying, how many lift trucks would they need in that area. Where do you drop in the chargers? Because that's very important as well. If it is a three-phase charger install, we want to make sure we put the chargers in a location where the operators will charge it. You
Mhm.
obviously don't want to put the charger's in an area where, it's very, very far from the lunchroom or the break area.
Yeah,
You want to
yeah.
make sure that these operators are always plugging in whenever they get a chance, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And we've seen the phase-in approach where they're going to keep a certain fleet internal combustion for a period of time. Typically, what they'll do is they'll establish a plan over a period of time, and they'll work with their current provider for their propane trucks, and either extend leases, or they try not to renew or buy new equipment in that area because they know they're going to be going electric anyway. And then just do a phase-in approach where we can do one portion of the facility, and then we can expand it to other portions. Some customers decide that, hey, I want to go electric in this one area of my facility, but this other area that requires my trucks to go outdoors, I don't necessarily need to go electric in that area. So we've seen some customers say, I'm going to do a mixed fleet, where I'm going to keep some of my products as propane, and I'm going to keep or make the transition to electric in other areas. My guess is over time they will see such benefits in going electric. They'll get that return on investment very, very quickly. They'll see that their operators will prefer the electric, integrated lift trucks versus the propane trucks for many, many, many different reasons. And I would expect over time that those units that decided to keep as propane will eventually make that transition to electric as well. Again, if the grid allows it. I mean, obviously there's some constraints there. If your grid can't support a massively large fleet of lift trucks, so that's always a challenge, depending where you are in the country. If you're in the Central Valley of California and you don't got a lot of power that you can get out there, then you're kind of limited on what you can do. But there's technologies that are right around the corner that will allow some of those fleets that are in remote areas to utilize electric. Using battery energy storage system, or what they call BESS systems, to power and charge equipment that may not otherwise have access to the grid, like an industrial facility that's closer to a metropolitan area.
Yeah, interesting, and definitely good strategy and advice there for those larger fleets, and interesting to hear too about kind of that power situation as well. And we've had some conversation on the podcast about like microgrids and things like that as well to support some of that infrastructure. So very interesting to hear that. And we are coming up here on Modex as well, right? So I mentioned you guys had a forklift and a box of smoke at ProMat. So for Modex this year, what can we look forward to seeing, and why should people stop by your booth?
So for anybody that's trying to envision what this box looks like that we're talking about, which happened this time last year at ProMat, we are going to bring the box back. It was such a huge hit, and again, we want to continue our education in the market that Big Joe is a brand. We are a different company than we were yesterday, where people still think of us as that, oh, you're that walkie stacker, Joey company focused on the warehouse space. So we want to continue off where we left last year at ProMat, here at Modex coming up, to really highlight that Big Joe is really looking forward and getting into the Class 1 sit-down counterbalance space. Really educate those attendees to the exhibits to really show them that we're very knowledgeable in this space. Our parent company is a manufacturer that has been doing this for well over 10 years. We have 130 plus thousand Class 1 sit-down counterbalance integrated lithium-ion battery trucks operating somewhere on the planet. So we're not new to the Class 1 space. So we're going to, again, bring the smoke box in. We're going to show many of the products that we showed last year at ProMat. We're a very fast-moving company as well, so we're going to also be exhibiting some of our newer sit-down counterbalance products that we didn't show last year that are going to make a big splash in the market. So I would invite everybody to come see Big Joe and see what we're doing, because I really believe what we're doing is revolutionary, and I don't want anybody just to walk by the booth and see us as another lift truck manufacturer, because we are not.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll definitely be coming by the booth to check it out, to talk to Marty again and see what's happening on the floor there in Atlanta. So be sure to stay tuned for that as well. For people that want to learn more about Big Joe right now, or maybe won't be making it to Modex, what's the best way to do that?
You can always visit our website, www.bigjoeforklifts.com. Or honestly, I'm on I think everybody that's in this space can see me on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
I love talking to people about this. I mean, I have so much passion for this IC to E movement, and Big Joe is doing all the right things. And if anybody wants to talk about it, they don't have to wait for Modex. They can connect with me on LinkedIn, and if we can exchange phone numbers, I'd be more than happy to get on a phone call and talk about all the things we're doing. And if you're an end user customer that's looking for, advice or some guidance, we'd be more than happy to partner with you and your local dealer to see how we can, utilize the Big Joe solutions to electrify your fleet.
Absolutely. And make sure, if you are interested in talking electrification of your fleet, you talk to Marty, the electrification guru here on the forklift world. So Marty, really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing with us, and we're looking forward to seeing what you have in store at Modex as well, and also what Big Joe has in store for the next 75 years additionally too. So Congratulations to you and the Big Joe family on that anniversary as well. And we will definitely put all the information about Big Joe at thenewwarehouse.com, as well as in the show notes here. So Marty, thank you once again for your time on the show today.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Enjoyed this episode? Make sure you are subscribed to the podcast, and for more content from the New Warehouse, find us on LinkedIn and YouTube. Links to subscribe can be found in the show notes, and for everything The New Warehouse, head to thenewwarehouse.com.